The mockery, the grand hall of the Galactic Council, stretched across 3 kilometers of polished crystal. Representatives from 1,000 worlds filled the massive chamber. At the center stood Ambassador Sarah Chun, Earth's lone representative, looking small against the towering alien delegates around her. The humans request full membership in the Galactic Defense Alliance, announced the council speaker, a massive being called Zarkonian. His 4 arms crossed over his chest as he looked down at Sarah. The translation device converted his deep rumbles into words she could understand. Laughter filled the hall. Not kind laughter, but the harsh sound of mockery. The Zircon delegate, a creature with scales that shimmered like oil, stood up from his floating platform. Earth? Zircon said, his voice dripping with contempt. That backward little planet wants to join our military alliance? They still use chemical rockets. Their ships can barely leave their own star system. More laughter echoed through the chamber. Sarah stood firm, her hands clasped behind her back. She had expected this reaction. Earth's technology looked primitive compared to the antimatter drives and quantum computers of the older civilizations. "We have something to offer," Sarah said calmly. Her voice carried through the translation systems to every corner of the hall. "What could you possibly offer?" asked another delegate, this one from the Nexari Empire. "Your planet has no energy shields, no plasma weapons, no faster-than-light communication. You are centuries behind even our weakest members." Sarah touched the datapad in her pocket, but did not pull it out yet. Back on Earth, General Jung-hoon had told her to wait for the right moment. "Let them underestimate us," he had said. "Pride comes before the fall." The Zarkonian council speaker raised one of his massive hands for silence. "Perhaps we should hear what the human has to say. Every species deserves that courtesy, no matter how primitive." "Thank you," Sarah said, nodding slightly. "Earth admits that our technology appears less advanced. We do not have antimatter reactors or quantum processors like yours. But we have something else. Something you have all forgotten in your centuries of peace and automated warfare." "And what is that?" Zircon asked, his scales rattling with amusement. "We remember how to fight," Sarah said simply. The hall erupted in laughter again. Several delegates actually fell over, their various forms of amusement creating a symphony of mockery. The Nexari delegates' tentacles writhed with humor. "Fight?" The Nexari gasped between laughs. "You still use your own soldiers? How barbaric. We have had automated defense systems for 500 years. No civilized species risks their own people in warfare anymore." "That is exactly our point," Sarah said, her voice cutting through the noise. "When the Void Hunters attacked the Outer Rim last month, your automated defenses failed. 3 worlds fell before they were stopped. Your machines could not adapt fast enough to their tactics." The laughter died down slightly. The attack had been an embarrassment for the Alliance. The Void Hunters, a mysterious force from outside the galaxy, had indeed overwhelmed several defense networks. "A minor setback," Zarkonian said, but his voice lacked its earlier confidence. "Our systems are being upgraded." "With the same type of thinking that failed before," Sarah countered. "You program your machines with yesterday's tactics. But humans? We adapt. We improvise. We survive. For 10,000 years, we have been perfecting the art of war. Not through machines, but through experience." "You speak of primitive violence," Zircon said, disgust clear in his voice. "The galaxy has evolved beyond such things." Sarah finally pulled out her datapad. "Perhaps. But when the Void Hunters return, and they will return, you may find that evolution has made you weak." Earth formally withdraws its request for membership. Shocked silence filled the hall. No one withdrew a membership request. It was an honor just to be considered. "However," Sarah continued, "we offer you a demonstration." Send your best automated defense unit to Earth. We will show you what humanity's primitive methods can do. She turned and walked toward the exit, her footsteps echoing in the sudden quiet. Behind her, the alien delegates began whispering among themselves. Some still laughed, but others looked thoughtful. The challenge had been issued. Asterisk. The challenge the Australian outback stretched endlessly under the burning sun. Red dust swirled in the wind as 3 massive ships descended from the sky. They were not Earth ships. The sleek, silver vessels bore the markings of the Galactic Alliance, their anti-gravity engines making no sound as they touched down. General Jung-hoon watched from the command bunker, his weathered face showing no emotion. Beside him stood Colonel Min-jung, younger but equally serious, studying the data streams on his tactical display. They actually came, Min-jung said, a hint of surprise in his voice. Sarah said they would, Jung-hoon replied. Their pride would not let them refuse our challenge. The main Alliance ship opened with a hiss. Out Commander Zex Theta of the Dominion Fleet, his blue crystalline body reflecting the harsh sunlight. Behind him, a dozen other alien officers emerged, each from different species, but all wearing the same superior expressions. ECO-YEON, Earth's lead strategist, met them at the designated neutral zone. She was small, even by human standards, but her eyes held a sharpness that made even the aliens pause. Welcome to Earth, she said through the translator. I am strategist CO Yan. I will explain the terms of our demonstration. Zex Theta's crystal phone chimed as he spoke. We have brought the Omega-class defense unit. It has never lost a military exercise in 300 years of service. Your ... soldiers will find it quite impossible to defeat. We shall see, CO Yan said simply. She gestured to the vast desert around them. The battlefield is 50 square kilometers. Your automated unit will defend the eastern position. Our forces will attack from the west. The goal is simple. Whoever captures the enemy's command post wins. Agreed, Zex Theta said. When do we begin? Tomorrow at dawn, CO Yan replied. You may deploy your unit now to prepare defenses. The Alliance officers laughed among themselves. One of them, a reptilian Skarn, spoke up. You give us time to prepare? How generous. Our Omega unit could defeat you without any preparation at all. CO Yan smiled slightly. We want this to be fair. Deploy your unit, Commander. Zex Theta touched a control on his arm. From the largest Alliance ship, something enormous began to emerge. The Omega-class defense unit stood 30 meters tall, a walking fortress of advanced alloys and energy weapons. Its surface rippled with shield generators and sensor arrays. 6 legs gave it stability, while 4 weapon arms could target multiple enemies simultaneously. But most impressive was its mind, a quantum combat computer that could process millions of battle scenarios per second. It began moving immediately, analyzing the terrain, setting up defensive positions, deploying smaller drone units from compartments in its hull. Beautiful, is it not? Zex Theta said proudly. No biological mind could match its processing speed. It learns from every battle ever fought in Alliance space. Your soldiers will be defeated before they even understand what is happening. In the command bunker, Min-jung watched the Omega unit work. It's more advanced than our intelligence suggested, he said quietly. Jung-hoon nodded. Good. If it was easy, they would not learn the lesson. He turned to a technician. Send word to the hangars. Tell them to begin final preparations on Project Titan. Sir, the technician said, the pilots are asking if they should run more synchronization tests. No, Jung-hoon said. They have trained enough. Tomorrow, they prove that humanity's greatest weapon is not our technology. It is our spirit. As the sun set over the outback, 2 very different forces prepared for battle. On one side, The Omega unit continued its perfect mechanical preparations, its quantum mind calculating every possible attack vector. On the other side, 500 human soldiers gathered in underground hangars, checking equipment that looked primitive by galactic standards. But in the deepest hangar, something else waited. Something the Alliance had not seen yet. 5 specialized mechs, each 20 meters tall, stood in darkness. They were not beautiful like the Omega unit. They were angular, rough, built for function over form. Cables ran from their cockpits to a central core that pulsed with a strange energy. Captain Sarah Kim stood before her squad of pilots. "Remember," she said, "the machine is only as strong as our unity. When we connect tomorrow, we become one mind, one purpose. The aliens trust their computers. We trust each other." The pilots nodded. They had trained for 2 years for this moment. Tomorrow, they would show the galaxy what humanity could do. The night passed slowly. In the Alliance observation post, the alien officers relaxed, confident in their coming victory. They shared stories of other primitive species that had challenged their technology and lost. But in the human bunkers, no one slept. They studied the Omega unit's movements, planned their attack, and prepared their secret weapon. Tomorrow would change everything. Asterisk. The preparation that pre-dawn darkness held a different quality in the desert. Stars that were invisible in Earth cities blazed overhead as 5 pilots made their way to the underground hangar. Each wore a neural interface suit, black material, webbed with silver connection points that would link them to their machines. Captain Sarah Kim led the group. Behind her walked Marcus Rodriguez, the heavy weapons specialist, Yuki Tanaka, the scout, James Mitchell, the defender, and Anya Volkov, the tactical coordinator. They had been selected from thousands of candidates, not just for their skills, but for their ability to synchronize their thoughts. "Neural sync in T-30 minutes," announced a voice over the intercom. In the main command center, General Jung-hoon watched as technicians ran final checks. The main screen showed the Omega unit, which had spent the night creating an impressive defense network. Energy barriers, automated turrets, and patrol drones covered every approach to its position. "It's learning even now," CO Yan observed, studying the patterns. "See how it adjusts the patrol routes every 17 minutes? It's randomizing to prevent pattern recognition." "Let it learn," Jung-hoon said. "It still thinks in straight lines, even if they are complex ones." Colonel Min-jun entered the command center. The regular forces are in position. 500 soldiers ready to begin the assault. "They know their role?" Jung-hoon asked. "Yes, sir. They are the distraction. Make noise, draw fire, and sell the deception that this is all we have." In the Alliance observation post, Commander Zex Theta watched the human preparations with amusement. "Look at them," he said to his officers. Chemical projectile weapons, wheeled vehicles. They move their soldiers in groups, so inefficient. The Omega unit will destroy them in minutes. A Nexari officer's tentacles writhed with anticipation. Should we not warn them to surrender? This seems cruel. They wanted this demonstration, Zex Theta replied. Let them have their lesson in humility. Back in the hangar, the 5 pilots stood before their mechs. These were not the smooth, elegant machines of the Alliance. They were brutal-looking things, all angles and armor, with exposed hydraulics and rough welds. Each was different, customized to its pilot's role. Beginning neural handshake, the technician announced. Sarah Kim climbed into her cockpit. As the neural cables connected to her suit, she felt the familiar sensation of her consciousness expanding. She could sense the machine around her, its systems becoming extensions of her own body. But more than that, she could feel the others. Marcus's steady presence, solid as stone. Yuki's quick, darting thoughts. James's protective instincts. Anya's calculating mind. As the synchronization increased, the 5 minds began to merge. Sync rate at 60%, the technician reported. 70, 80. This was the secret of Project Titan. Not artificial intelligence, but amplified human intelligence. 5. Minds working as one, their thoughts accelerated by neural processors, their reactions faster than any individual human, but still maintaining that crucial element, human intuition. 90%, 95. In her cockpit, Sarah felt the moment when they truly connected. 5 became 1. She was Sarah, but she was also Marcus, Yuki, James, and Anya. They thought together, felt together, moved together. Sync rate holding at 97%, the technician announced. Titan is online. The 5 mechs moved in perfect unison, despite being separate machines. They walked to the hangar's exit tunnel, their footsteps synchronized down to the millisecond. This was not programming. This was something else. Dawn broke over the desert. The signal was given. 500 human soldiers began their advance, spreading across the battlefield in seemingly chaotic patterns. To the watching aliens, it looked like disorganized rabble. Vehicles kicked up dust clouds. Soldiers fired rockets and projectile weapons at the Omega unit's defenses. The quantum combat computer responded instantly. Energy beams lanced out, destroying vehicles. Defense drones swept in, targeting soldier positions. Shields deflected the primitive projectile weapons easily. In the first 5 minutes, the human forces lost 50 soldiers to simulation kills, their equipment registering them as eliminated from the exercise. In the Alliance observation post, laughter filled the room. "Look how they scatter," a Skarn officer hissed with delight. No formation, no strategy, but Zex Theta noticed something. His crystalline form hummed with uncertainty. Wait, their retreat patterns. They are too random, almost like... Before he could finish the thought, the ground beneath the Omega unit exploded. Not from below. The quantum computer had scanned for underground threats. But the explosion came from human soldiers who had been killed earlier. They had played dead, their eliminated status hiding them from the unit's threat assessment. Suicide tactics? An alien officer said with disgust. How primitive. But it was not suicide. The soldiers rolled away, very much alive, their earlier deaths faked by hacked simulation tags. The explosion did minimal damage to the Omega unit's shields, but it did something else. It created a dust cloud that momentarily obscured sensors. And in that moment, 5 shapes burst from concealed positions in the desert floor. The Titan mechs moved like nothing the aliens had ever seen. Not with the smooth precision of automated units, but with something almost organic. They flowed around each other, covering blind spots, creating attacking angles that the Omega unit's computer struggled to process, because the computer was trying to predict 5 separate enemies. It did not understand it was fighting one mind in 5 bodies. Asterisk the revelation, the Omega unit's quantum processor calculated 18,000 possible attack vectors in the first second of engagement. It was prepared for all of them. What it was not prepared for was what happened in the second that followed. The 5 Titan mechs moved in patterns that defied conventional tactics. Sarah's unit feinted left, but the feint was completed by Marcus's mech on the right. Yuki's scout unit seemed to retreat, but it was actually setting up a shot for James's defender unit. Anya's tactical mech was everywhere and nowhere, coordinating movements that should have required communication, but there was no communication, only shared thought. Impossible, Zex Theta breathed, his crystalline form flickering with confusion. They're not transmitting any signals to each other. How are they coordinating? The Omega unit fired its primary weapon, a devastating plasma lance that could pierce any armor. It aimed at Sarah's mech, calculating her dodge pattern based on her current velocity and direction. The shot should have been perfect, but Sarah, didn't dodge the way the computer predicted. She dropped flat, her mech sliding on its knees through the dirt, a move that would damage the unit but avoided the shot completely. No rational pilot would accept that damage. But Sarah knew James would cover her, his shield systems overloading to project a barrier while she recovered. The quantum computer recalculated. These pilots were accepting damage to achieve positioning. Irrational, inefficient, unpredictable. In the command bunker, Jung-hoon watched the sync rates. 97% and holding, a technician reported. Neural load is approaching red levels. They can hold, Jung-hoon said confidently. They are proving something today. On the battlefield, the regular human forces continued their chaotic assault. But Seo-yan smiled as she watched from the command center. The chaos had patterns within patterns. Each random movement pushed the Omega unit's attention in specific directions, creating blind spots that lasted microseconds, but microseconds were enough for pilots thinking at neural-enhanced speeds. Marcus's heavy mech suddenly split apart. Not damaged, designed to separate. The lower half continued forward on autopilot, drawing fire, while the upper half was caught by Yuki's scout unit and hurled like a projectile. The Omega unit's computer had no reference for this tactic. Warriors didn't throw parts of themselves at enemies, but humans did whatever worked. The thrown upper half transformed mid-flight, Marcus still piloting, turning into a weapons platform that landed on the Omega unit's back. Point-blank range negated shields. Marcus's weapons tore into sensor arrays before the unit's arms could reach back to remove him. Neural spike detected. A technician shouted. Marcus is pushing too hard. Let him push, Jung-hoon ordered. He knows his limits. But Marcus wasn't pushing alone. Through the neural link, the other 4 pilots shared the load, distributing the mental strain across their connected minds. 5 hearts beating as one, 5 minds thinking as one. The Omega unit adapted quickly, its quantum processor learning from each exchange. It began to predict the unpredictable, finding patterns in chaos. Its hit rate improved. James's defender unit took heavy damage. Anya's tactical unit lost an arm dot in the Alliance observation post. Hope returned to the alien officers. See, the unit is learning. Your humans can surprise it once, but not twice. But Zex Theta noticed something else. Why are they smiling? On the monitors, cameras in the human mechs showed all 5 pilots smiling, despite the damage they were taking. Blood ran from Sarah's nose from neural strain. Marcus's hands shook from feedback overload, but they smiled. Because, Seo-yan said, appearing on their communication screen, you're about to see what makes humanity special. The 5 damaged mechs suddenly stopped their individual attacks. They moved together, forming a circle around the Omega unit. The quantum computer calculated attack responses for 5 directions, simultaneously. Then the mechs began to combine, not in any way the aliens recognized. This wasn't clean, automated transformation. It was violent, mechanical pieces slamming together with explosive bolts and magnetic locks. James's defender unit became legs. Marcus's separated heavy unit reformed his arms. Yuki's scout unit split into sensor and targeting systems. Anya's tactical unit became the core. And Sarah's command unit became the head and neural center dot in 30 seconds of brutal combination. 5 mechs became one. But more importantly, 5 minds became truly one. Titan fully synchronized, Sarah's voice announced, but it wasn't just her voice. It was all 5, speaking in perfect unison. The combined mech stood 40 meters tall, larger than the Omega unit. It was ugly, asymmetrical, with exposed joints and mismatched armor. It should not have been able to move efficiently, but it moved like water. The Omega unit fired everything. Plasma lances, missile swarms, energy nets. Its quantum processor calculated that the larger, combined target would be easier to hit. The Titan flowed around the attacks, not dodging, redirecting, using the plasma lance's energy to power a spin that brought its fist through the missile swarm, catching the energy net and throwing it back. Every movement was impossible for a computer to predict because it wasn't following any program. It was pure human instinct multiplied by 5 and amplified by neural connection. Impact in 3 seconds, the 5 voices said as one. The Omega unit tried to retreat, but the Titan was already there, moving in ways that mechanical joints shouldn't allow. Human flexibility and mechanical power combined. The Titan's fist, really Marcus's reformed heavy weapon, struck the Omega unit's quantum processor core. But the strike wasn't meant to destroy. As the fist connected, Yuki's sensor systems invaded through physical contact, flooding the quantum processor with something it couldn't handle: human thoughts. Raw, unfiltered, chaotic human consciousness poured directly into the ordered quantum pathways. The Omega unit froze. Its processor, designed to handle millions of calculations per second, couldn't process pure human emotion and intuition. It was like pouring water into a circuit board, except the water was the messy, beautiful chaos of human thought. Checkmate, the 5 voices said. The Titan reached past the frozen Omega unit and planted Earth's flag on the Eastern Command Post. Exercise complete. Humanity wins. Asterisk the victory. The silence in the Alliance observation post was absolute. 23 alien species, representing the most advanced civilizations in the galaxy, stared at their monitors in disbelief. The Omega unit, their perfect, undefeated machine, stood frozen in the desert, Earth's flag waving behind it in the morning wind. Commander Zex Thetis' crystalline form had turned pale, almost transparent. "Run the diagnostic," he ordered quietly. "The Omega unit is undamaged, sir," a technician reported. "All systems functional. But the quantum processor is ... locked. It's trying to process something it can't understand." On the battlefield, the Titan separated back into 5 mechs. The pilots emerged from their cockpits, exhausted but triumphant. Sarah Kim could barely stand, held up by Marcus Rodriguez. Blood dripped from several pilots' noses and ears, the price of neural synchronization, pushed to its limits. General Jung-hoon and Colonel Min-jun arrived in transport vehicles, accompanied by medical teams. As the pilots were checked over, Jung-hoon approached the frozen Omega unit and placed his hand on its metal hull. "Your machine is unharmed," he called out to the watching aliens. "We can release it whenever you're ready. But first, perhaps you'd like to understand what happened." A shimmering portal opened, the Alliance's teleportation technology. Zex Theta stepped through, followed by several other officers. Up close, the commander could see the human pilots being treated. They looked so fragile, so biological. Yet they had done the impossible. How? Zex Theta asked, simply. SEO-YEON approached, datapad in hand. "Your machines think in straight lines, even if those lines are very complex. They process probability, patterns, logic. But humans? We think in curves, spirals, and sometimes we don't think at all. We just feel. We know what we're going to do before we know why we're doing it. The neural link," Sarah Kim added weakly from her stretcher, "doesn't make us think faster. It makes us think together. 5 intuitions becoming one. 5 sets of experiences, fears, hopes, all merged. Your computer tried to predict 5 pilots, but it was fighting one soul in 5 bodies. This is not possible," a Nexari officer protested. "Biological minds cannot synchronize like that. The neural feedback would destroy them." "It nearly did," admitted Jung-hoon. "Our pilots trained for years to handle the strain. And even then, they can only maintain full synchronization for minutes at a time. But those minutes were enough." Zex Theta looked at the frozen Omega unit. And the final attack? What did you do to our processor? We showed it what it means to be human, Anya Volkov said, managing a tired smile. Every memory, every emotion, every contradictory thought and feeling we had in that moment. We dumped pure humanity into its circuits. It's trying to understand something that we ourselves don't fully understand, consciousness. Can you release it? Zex Theta asked. Of course, Sizioan said. She typed commands into her pad. The Omega unit shuddered, then powered down into standby mode. Your quantum processor will need to be reset, but no permanent damage was done. We're not here to destroy, Commander. We're here to protect. The Alliance officers exchanged glances. Finally, Zex Theta spoke. The Void Hunters grow bolder with each attack. Our automated defenses have failed 3 times now. They learn our patterns, predict our machines. Because your machines are predictable, Jung-hoon said. Even quantum computers follow rules. The Void Hunters have learned those rules. What do you propose? Zex Theta asked, his pride clearly struggling with the question. Integration. Sarah Chun's voice came from behind them. The ambassador had arrived, looking satisfied but diplomatic. Earth doesn't want to replace your technology. We want to combine it with our approach. Imagine your advanced weapons and shields, controlled not by predictable computers, but by human intuition, enhanced by neural links. The galaxy needs both, Jung-hoon added. Your technology and our humanity, together. 3 weeks later, the Galactic Council reconvened. This time, Sarah Chun stood at the center with General Jung-hoon and the 5 Titan pilots. The atmosphere was very different from the mockery of their first meeting. The Council recognizes Earth for membership in the Galactic Defense Alliance, Sarkonian announced. His forearms spread in a gesture of respect. More than that, we request Earth's assistance in redesigning our defense strategies. Sarah nodded graciously. We accept with conditions. The neural link technology remains under human control. It's too dangerous for species not adapted to it. But we will provide pilots and training. In exchange, we want access to your technology to protect our world. Agreed, Zex Theta said, speaking for the military branch. We have learned something valuable. Perfect logic can be a weakness. Chaos can be a strength. 6 months passed. When the Void Hunters attacked again, they faced something new. Alliance technology powered by human pilots, supported by alien logistics and intelligence. The enemy's adaptive algorithms couldn't predict human creativity. Their pattern recognition failed against intentional chaos. The battle was won in 17 minutes. In the aftermath. As Earth's pilots were celebrated across the galaxy, a young Zircon approached Sarah Kim. I must apologize, he said. We laughed at Earth. We called you primitive. Sarah, still recovering from her latest neural link session, smiled. We were primitive by your standards. But that's what saved us. We never forgot how to be human. And now? The Zircon asked. Now we're something new, Sarah said, looking up at the stars. Not purely human, not purely technological. We're the bridge between instinct and intellect. And that's what the galaxy needs. The war against the Void Hunters continued, but it was different now. Every battle saw new tactics, new impossibilities made real by human creativity and alien technology working together. The galaxy had learned the most important lesson. Never underestimate humanity. Their greatest weapon wasn't their machines or their weapons. It was their stubborn, beautiful, chaotic refusal to think inside anyone's box, even their own. Earth never became the most technologically advanced member of the Alliance. They didn't need to be. They became something more important, the unpredictable factor that turned certain defeat into impossible victory. And in the halls of the Galactic Council, no one laughed at humanity anymore. They knew better now. The end. Asterisk.